Hello everyone and welcome back to some Wario Land Shake It with every single coin. This is part 17, so let's go. Today we're going to be taking down Freezing Fields, which is our second to last level. And it's not even that hard. In fact, there's pretty much nothing in here that could stop us. Except for one thing that makes this level completely impossible. That being another floating bandinero. Which of course has to be too far off the ground for us to reach. Now, there are many plausible solutions, but none of them work out. The first idea that I had was to go ahead and hit it from the bottom, but this just bounces Wario off. The only way to knock the floating bandinero down is by actually jumping off of it. And this can only be accomplished in one way. And that is of course by getting higher than it. This sadly isn't possible. So sadly, all we can get is one coin from it. And this is by either throwing an enemy like I just did, or by targeting it with holding down 1, and then throwing the enemy at a high speed. Either one of these will give you one singular coin. Sadly, because we can only get one coin from this enemy, it makes this level impossible. But that doesn't mean we can't find out how many coins we can get in the maximum. The first screen is done, so we can actually move to the second. This one has a little bit of new tech in this, that being bouncing off the penguin instead of using the ice block that you're supposed to. Either one works. I decided to use the penguin because why not? Next, I go ahead and throw this giant coin bag down. And now I'm going to go ahead and try to move the Brumble Pod off of this breakable brick just to get over to the diamond. I honestly don't have to do this, but I decided to just because it seemed safer. Now, by hitting a Brumble Pod while it's upside down, will either make you take damage or it'll just bounce you off. But if the Brumble Pod is upright, you will actually knock him back as it retreats into its helmet. This can be used to actually knock it off of its platform. And with that, we can actually get back over here. I honestly could have just gotten the diamond here, but I had a sort of problem with this Brumble Pod just being on the edge, so I wanted to knock it off. While it did take some damage, I feel like it was worth it. And with that, we can grab a diamond. Now I'm going to go ahead and take this giant coin bag over to the left loading zone. I could bring it over into this little tunnel, but it doesn't really matter which. The loading zones in this level are pretty generous, so even though there is no ceiling, it's still pretty easy to get all the coins from the coin bag. So I go over here, and then I empty out the coin bag into our pockets. And now we can sort of proceed to the next level, or the next section of this level, which is a sort of mini-game section, sort of like in Foul Water Falls, where we have to go ahead and complete a mini-challenge in order to proceed. Although I am running low on health. Although there's no enemies here, so I'm just going to go ahead and take it on. Now, in order to beat this, it would seem like we have to go ahead and dash right through. Although this doesn't work because we can't get enough slide out of our dash cannon. So instead we have to go ahead and make a left turn before jumping up a couple of levels in order to hit the ice. This allows us to get our maximum slide and allows us to get Santa's sled. And with that, we can move back and just go ahead and go back through the pipe. Let's go. I go ahead and jump up these platforms, go up here, and I go ahead and shake this penguin, hoping for some garlic. I was lucky enough to get some. And now we get everyone's favorite section, dealing with the snowball. But first I'm going to grab some more garlic. But yeah, now we get to go ahead and deal with the snowball power-up, which is really slow and annoying most of the time. Hooray! I hesitated, so sadly I lost my opportunity. I decided to go ahead and check down here for coin bags before I dealt with the snowball, because if a snowball runs into a coin bag, it'll obviously destroy it. So, I have to be wary of that. I go ahead and make it back. And of course, I mistime my shake. So I have to mess around with this a little bit more. I go ahead and finally get it right before going down here in order to ram these blocks with the snowball. With that, we get another diamond. And now we can go ahead and shake the platform and it'll come down. I of course messed it up again, so I had to try one more time. And now all I have to do is go ahead and go down the right slope, which will allow me to break the rest of the blocks. And with that, we are pretty much done with this little section of a level. All we have now is to take on a little bit more. But with that, we've gotten the frozen mammoth, and we can pretty much move on. In order to make it up the right slope, we have to go ahead and go on the platform, let it raise us up, and then we can go down the slope on the left, which will allow us to roll all the way to the right. And there we go. Now here we want to make sure we don't break that crate. We want to go down here. We want to break this little brick. And then what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to push the ice block to the right. This allows us to raise it up. We go ahead and move it over here. And then we knock it to the left. This is so that way we can actually get a boost up when we go ahead and lower this beam. We go ahead and do that. Now sadly we do have to destroy this crate in order to let the beam come all the way down. But we can jump up now and we can grab some ever ice. Now we just have a couple more screens, and then we'll be at the checkpoint. This screen has a indestructible iron crate that we can't get to yet. That's going to be after the checkpoint. So for now, we're going to have to go ahead and make a path. And we're going to make it with these ice blocks. And now we get this section, which we get to be introduced to these little flames that'll turn Wario into Ice Wario. Because that makes sense. Now, because we have to deal with these ice physics, I messed up a few times and had to slide all the way down. But even if I slide all the way down, interesting thing about this is when we break out of the ice, Wario has some invincibility frames even though he never took damage. This means he technically has some freedom even when on the ice, and he doesn't take damage, which I think is kind of interesting. Although this invincibility frames, even though they're not like Wario is blinking, even though Wario isn't blinking, like when he takes damage from the spikes, his invincibility timer is there and it will run out. and I find that kind of interesting. But with that, we can go ahead and block off the passage for the fire ice, I guess. I don't know the name of the enemy, I guess, of what that would be called. With that, we're going to the checkpoint. In order to reach the checkpoint, all we have to do is we have to go up here and go into the cannon. And yeah, there's no way to get past that ice fire. And there's no coins up on the top left. So, we're pretty much good to go to the checkpoint. Let's go. Now, after the checkpoint, we get to have a little bit more of a fun section. That being the Rescue Murphle section. Which, it isn't really that difficult, but it is kind of tricky, and it has a lot of fun parts in my opinion. But first we have to collect a few coins. After that, we go ahead and do a ground pound, and then we can make our way all the way down here. Before having to go ahead and knock all these ice blocks to the left. We can go ahead and squish all the fire ice before moving the ice block back. This helps with time, although it doesn't really matter for us. We can go ahead and shake the Murphle cage, and then we can kick the ice block to the right. And now, it begins. A Rescue Murphle section, which of course has to deal with ice physics. Because everyone loves ice physics, right? We can go ahead and grab the diamond from before, and now we can start running back. We do have to time our ducks pretty consistently here, and we do have to make sure we turn around on the first few possible frames, otherwise we'll actually crash into the wall. So it is a little bit tricky here, but it's nothing too difficult. We can time our jumps, and with that, we're pretty much done. And no, there's no coins in these little breakable bricks. And there's no coins over here, so I can just dash directly up here. And with that, with a little over 2 minutes to spare, Freezing Fields is sadly incomplete due to the fact that we were never able to get all the coins from the golden enemy. So sadly, I'm going to have to mark this level as impossible, although we were able to go ahead and grab 76,200 coins. The next episode is the finale, so thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.